about that. It's all about decisions, looking at what's going on in the environment, and then making the best decision for you.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
Welcome to Her Journey, presented by Kazukian Media Group.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey.
You have to continue to walk in your purpose.
We cannot control how other people respond to us.
As long as you have breath in your body, story does not end. Every day that God grants you, you have an opportunity to rewrite your story.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey. Watch Her Journey, hosted by me, Joy Doss, brought to you by the Kazukian Media Group and proudly sponsored by Nike, Black Community Commitment.
Welcome back to another episode of Her Journey. I'm Joy Doss. I am your host for the show. And as always, we are speaking to some of the most amazing, the most fabulous, the most phenomenal women in Memphis, Tennessee. These women are successful in their own right, and they're right in our backyard. We are the contribution to the solution, as we always say. We are showing young women and girls who and what they can be and how they can get there. There are many ways and many paths to success. Success is not a monolith, and we are showing you that right here, right now on this show. Today's Woman of the Half Hour is Mrs. Jozelle Booker. She is the president and CEO of MMBC Continuum, and that is Mid-South Minority Business Council Continuum. But before that, she was at MLGW for 31 years. And before that, let me not bury the lead, she is a good sis. She is my Sora and a woman of Delta. That would be Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And she's here with us today. Thank you, Jozelle.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here today.
Yes. And so let me ask you, most people can't imagine being in a job. We move jobs every couple years most of the time, right?
Right.
How do you stay in one place for 31 years?
You know,
how is that?
I tell people all the time that I grew up at Memphis Light, Gas and Water. Started there when I was 24 years old.
So right out of college?
Right. Soon after college, I graduated from Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi in 1984.
Okay.
And came to Memphis. And I worked for a year and a half in a direct sales job. And then said, you know, this is not it. This is not it. Traveling 200 miles outside of Memphis every week and living and working out of a hotel. And I wanted something else. And so I went to Manpower Temporary Services. I said, I can type while I look for a job. I had a bachelor's degree in marketing.
Okay.
And I went to Memphis Light, Gas and Water. They by the time I got home, they called and said, report to Memphis Light, Gas and Water tomorrow to the personnel department. And I reported there, and I worked for about 30 days in a temp position. But it was something about the people, the culture. Everybody there was on a first name basis. It didn't matter who you were.
Okay.
The president, you called him by his first name.
Okay.
Everybody. So it was no miss, no mister.
Is it still that way?
It was that way when I left.
Okay.
In 2017.
Okay.
But I love the organization and the culture. And I feel as though it was then and it is now. People on the outside may not see it the way I see it, or other people that grew up there along with me. It's an organization, and the people are committed to the mission of the organization. It is a public organization.
Right.
It serves the public. And so I came on board, and I love the company.
So where you
the
started
people.
where?
I started, my very first job was full-time job, was a clerk typist. I had a bachelor's degree in marketing, but what I learned during my temporary period there is that they promote from within. And so degreed positions at that time were not filled from the outside. Only if there was no one in the inside that qualified for the job would they go on the outside.
Okay.
And so I said, I'm going to have to just get my foot in the door.
Okay.
And so I applied for a clerk typist position, which is the entry level. And I worked for about a year in a clerk typist position. And then a position that I had in personnel came open.
Okay.
And so they have a bargaining unit group, and then they have a management group. So those jobs were a part of the management group.
Okay.
So it was still clerk position. And then about a month after being in personnel, a job came open for a market researcher
Okay.
in the economic development department. No experience needed, just a degree in marketing.
Okay.
So I said, that's my job.
Okay.
And so I interviewed for that job, and that started my professional career as a market researcher for MLGW. And I moved around to different departments. I had an opportunity to work in some really good departments on special projects. So I worked everywhere from economic development to community relations to government relations to procurement. I had great opportunities for growth. I served as a loan executive for the United Way. And so there were just so many different things that you can do at a company like Memphis Light, Gas and Water.
It's pretty big, though. How many employees?
It was maybe 2,600 employees when I left.
Yeah, sure.
And so I remember when I first started, you'd see people on the elevator and they'd say, how much time do you have? And so some people would say, I've been here 26 years. Oh, I've been here 30 years. And as a 24-year-old, I was thinking, there is no way I'm going to work here until I'm 62 years old.
No way, I know.
And then at the time I was hired, the pension plan was changed where I would have had to have been 62 when I retired. But along the way, they made some improvements to the plan to where you could retire with full retirement after 25 years of service. So then I started paying attention to how many years. I was like, well, how many years do I have? But I had no intention of leaving Memphis Light, Gas and Water. I loved my job. I loved the people. I love what we do, for the community. And I was just going to work there until I just didn't want to work anymore.
They need you as a spokesperson. They need to put you on a commercial. Seriously, they need you as a spokesperson because people don't hear that enough about MLGW. So that's great. So where did what was your last job before you retired from there?
So I retired in 2017.
So what was the last job?
The last job I had, I was manager of procurement and contracts.
Okay.
Which meant I was responsible for about $200 million in procurement spend a year, managed and was responsible for the organization's supplier diversity program, which I created starting back in 1997, the company's first supplier minority and women business program.
Okay.
I was also logistics section chief. Which means for storm restoration, major outages. I was responsible for making sure we had crews in from out of town, all the equipment that we needed, our employees were taken care of.
Okay.
All of our facilities were secure. So, but it was just, it didn't feel like work.
That's perfect.
It never felt like I was going to work.
That's perfect, though. That's how it should feel.
Yeah.
That's fortunate. Not everybody feels that way.
Right.
So we're going to, before we go to break, two things. One, you got your master's along the way as well, right?
I did. And let me tell you an interesting story about that. It's all about decisions, looking at what's going on in the environment, and then making the best decision for you. So there was a time in Memphis's history when a former mayor wanted to talked about selling MLGW or privatizing MLGW. And at that time, I was in a upper management level position. I had, again, my bachelor's degree in marketing. And so an executive said to me, if MLGW is privatized or sold to a private company, they could have different requirements for certain jobs. And you want to make sure that you're in a position to where you can be secure and not have to take a cut or not be qualified under that new structure, even for the job that you have. So you really should consider going back to school and getting your master's degree.
Do they pay for your degree?
They paid for half of it.
Okay.
So I had to pay for half.
That's something, though.
Yeah, but I had to pay for half of it.
Those degrees are not cheap. So that's something.
And so it was the University of Memphis's executive MBA program. And so that program was ideal for me because the thought of having to go to school for a number of years, part-time, 2 classes here, 2 classes there.
Forever,
that was ideal. So I did that back, started in 98, so I graduated in the year 2000 with my executive MBA.
Okay, so 3 things I heard for the people out here at the Peanut Gallery. 1, find somebody to give you the game. 2, get in the game.
Right.
3, well, it's 4 things. So 3, executive MBA is an option.
Right.
That is an option. And 4, up your game so you can stay in the game.
Absolutely.
Get in the game, then up your game so you can stay in the game. So that's what I heard.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're going to take a quick break. And before we do, I'll give you a question to think about.
Okay.
Little cliffhanger.
Okay.
When did you know your journey as a Black woman was going to be different? We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with the answer to that question from Jozelle Booker and a lot more conversation. Stay tuned.